The cold wind bit at my exposed skin, but I barely felt it. The only thing that registered was the polished granite slab before me, etched with the name Michael. My son. 2 years. 2 years since I last saw his vibrant smile, heard his boisterous laugh. 2 years since the accident that stole him from me, from us. I clutched the single white rose in my gloved hand, its petals feeling like fragile porcelain. This was my ritual. Every Sunday, rain or shine, I came here. It was the one place I felt close to him, the one place I could drop the facade of the unshakable billionaire, the titan of industry. Here, I was just a grieving father. As I stood there, lost in the familiar ache of sorrow, a sound pierced the quiet solemnity of the cemetery. A soft, muffled sob. My brow furrowed. It wasn't the usual sound of distant traffic or rustling leaves. This was close. I slowly turned, my gaze sweeping over the nearby headstones. That's when I saw her. A young woman, hunched over a grave a few rows down. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs, and in her arms she held a small child, no older than 2 or 3, sleeping soundly against her chest. She was dressed in what looked like a waitress uniform, a crisp white shirt, a black apron tied around her waist. Her hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, but a few strands had escaped and clung damply to her tear-streaked face. She looked utterly heartbroken, a raw vulnerability that mirrored my own. My first instinct was to walk away. My grief was private, and I assumed hers was too. But something held me rooted to the spot. The sight of her, so young, so clearly in distress, with a sleeping child in her arms, it stirred something within me, a faint echo of the compassion I'd thought long buried. I watched her for a few more minutes, the wind whipping strands of her hair across her face. She reached out a trembling hand and gently traced the name on the headstone. That's when my blood ran cold. The name, it looked familiar. I took a hesitant step closer, then another, my heart pounding a strange rhythm against my ribs. As I got nearer, the name became clear, stark against the gray stone. Michael Peterson. My breath hitched. Michael Peterson. My son's name. It couldn't be. This was just a coincidence, a cruel twist of fate. But then I saw the dates. His birth year. His death year. They matched. Exactly. My head spun. Confusion warred with a sudden, sharp jolt of fear. Who was this woman? And why was she at my son's grave? I approached her cautiously, my voice a rough whisper. "Excuse me." She flinched, startled, and looked up, her eyes wide and red-rimmed. When she saw me, her gaze flickered to the expensive suit, the tailored coat, and then back to my face, a mixture of surprise and something akin to shame in her expression. I'm so sorry," she stammered, pulling the child a little closer. "I didn't mean to disturb anyone." No, you're not disturbing me," I managed to say, my eyes fixed on the headstone, then back to the child in her arms. "It's just, this is my son, Michael." Her eyes widened further, and a fresh wave of tears welled up. "I know," she whispered, her voice barely audible. He's the father of my son." The world tilted. The cold wind seemed to vanish, replaced by a sudden, suffocating heat. My mind reeled, struggling to process her words. Father of her son? I looked at the sleeping child, then back at the young woman. She was so young, perhaps in her early 20s. Michael had only been 24 when he died. I don't understand," I said, my voice thick with disbelief. "Michael he never mentioned a child." She let out a shaky breath, a sad, knowing look in her eyes. "He didn't know," she confessed, her gaze dropping to the child's soft, dark hair. "I found out a few weeks after the accident. I tried to tell him, but I was too late." A torrent of emotions crashed over me. Shock, confusion, a deep, aching regret. My son had a child. A child I never knew existed. A grandson. I stared at the little boy, his innocent face peaceful in sleep, and saw a faint echo of Michael in his features. The curve of his brow, the shape of his nose. It was undeniable. "What's his name?" I asked, my voice barely a croak. "Michael," she replied, a faint, sad smile gracing her lips. "After his father." Tears, hot and unexpected, pricked at my own eyes. I reached out a trembling hand, wanting to touch my grandson, to assure myself he was real. The waitress, whose name I still didn't know, watched me with a mixture of apprehension and understanding. This wasn't just a random Sunday visit anymore. This was a revelation, a profound turning point. My son was gone, but a part of him, a precious living part, was right here in this young woman's arms. And in that moment, standing in the biting wind by Michael's grave, a new, unexpected flicker of hope began to bloom in the desolate landscape of my grief.